This spring, transform your outdoor space into a regular gathering place for you and your loved ones with help from Ashley. Whether you're into wicker, teak, or driftwood-inspired furniture, we've got the look you're going for. Add in accessories like string lights and beverage tubs to take your patio party from basic to curated and enjoy cozy evening vibes with a new fire pit. Visit Ashley.com or stop by your local store and find affordable pricing and expert support today. Shop and save today, only at Ashley.
Teach a man to fish, and you'll feed him for a day. Teach a man to buy a crispy panko fish sandwich from Wendy's, and you'll introduce him to a delicious new world. Try one for yourself today, for a limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Impact of influence, the Murdaugh family murders. This is the unfolding story of a powerful South Carolina family, the mysterious deaths they are linked to, and our quest to bring you the truth. Hello, friend. As always, we're grateful you're spending time with us. Big guest coming up. If you want to reach out to us, I'm Matt Harris, by the way. Seton Tucker, where can they find us?
You can find us on Facebook, which is Murdaugh Podcast, or on our website, which is murdaughpodcast.com.
And that leads us into our special guest. He's the Assistant Attorney General in South Carolina, lead prosecutor of the Alex Murdaugh guilty verdict. He is Creighton Waters, and we're pleased to have him aboard. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are y'all today?
We're great. First thing, before we even get into the case and other things like that, what led you in the direction of being a prosecutor? Was it your thought before you even went to law school, or did that happen after you went to USC?
No, it actually happened when I always say that when I went to law school, I was going to be a criminal defense attorney and get them all the innocent people out of jail. And after 3 years of law school and doing a clerkship for Judge Jasper Curidan, who was a mentor and a trailblazer, but I just came to the determination that most of them were guilty, and became a prosecutor after that, and been doing it ever since in various capacities.
Oh, there's nothing like this case you've ever had, I'm sure. Was there a spotlight ever even close to this, even in the state that you have had?
We've had a lot of high-profile cases. Obviously, this one, with its national, international profile, is much bigger than anything any of us have ever experienced. But in state grand jury, we do a lot of public corruption, cartel, narcotics, gang stuff, and some high-profile white-collar stuff. So we've certainly had high-profile cases before, but, I think we all know this is a pretty unique situation.
Yeah, I don't think anyone in our state has seen anything like this before.
No.
I've spoken to several lawyers, and they said it was really unusual to them to request this speedy trial by the defense. Mm-hmm. Why do you think they did this, and do you think it was a mistake on their part?
Well, I think that they were hoping that we wouldn't be ready, or that, we would continue to delay, and then that would preserve an issue that they could raise down the line. I don't think that, you have to ask them, but I don't think they really expected us to take it up seriously, much less to do it so soon in January. And I think, maybe their hope was that, they could force a trial and hopefully be victorious, and hopefully then maybe we would be cowed by that and give away the white-collar stuff. But obviously that's not how it worked.
What was the pace like getting ready for a trial this quickly?
It was insane. And of course we still do have a lot of other cases as well. But it's been, as you can imagine, it's been a lot of work on the weekends, a lot of work in the evenings. During trial, of course, it's anywhere from a 14 to sometimes 20-hour a day job, and that's just all you're doing. But that was one reason, I've got the state grand jury team. Obviously, the murders themselves were not state grand jury, but all the white-collar stuff is. But one of the things that we're used to is doing complex investigations. We're used to working closely with SLED in these investigations, and so it was really kind of something that was in our area of what we're familiar with. And then I had this large team, and I told everyone, every person is going to have an important role in this, whether attorneys or staff. And I can't speak highly enough all of them. But I think they all had that ownership, and that was the only way we were able to survive, is that everybody took a specific role and really stepped up to the plate. And I think you saw all of them in action, not only the attorneys, but the staff as well.
So how many of their spouses called you and said, Creighton, can I see my husband or wife once in a while?
That may have happened. I'll just leave it at that. Might have heard from my own. She may have called me, but we were away for a long time, and there were certainly weekends that I think I went home every other weekend. So it was, we were all away from our families for a long time.
And then it ended, and you're back home, and now she's like, "Don't you have another case coming up?"
Yeah, right. Or that yard needs cutting, but it's been an adjustment getting back, and I think we're just now all starting to reset. Just maybe in the past few days, when you're under that kind of effort and stress and pressure every single day for such a long time, and then you get back, and for me at least, and others have talked to me about this as well, it was almost just an uneasy feeling that you needed to be doing something. I remember having dinner and waiting for food, and it felt like it was taking forever, and this is just a normal thing that you do, but it just when every minute was precious for so long, it was kind of hard to kind of unplug from that. But I think we're all doing a good job with that.
You can't just sit on the couch and watch basketball, or that those days are gone.
No, I think I'm glad March Madness is here, because I think I'm finally going to be able to do that, and so that's going to be fun, a fun distraction. And I think the Gamecock women, who are of course the undefeated number one seed, are playing right now. So I'll check that out.
I'm super excited about that. I'm a huge Gamecock women's basketball fan, so I'm so excited that they're the number one seed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, clearly Dawn Staley is the best program in the nation, and so that's pretty awesome. And I'm a huge fan too. I would say Aja Wilson. I mean, that might be the most poetry in motion basketball player, men or women, that I've ever seen. She was amazing. But anyway.
Completely agree. What was your reaction when Paul's cell phone was unlocked and you viewed that kennel video?
Well, I remember first hearing, getting a call from SLED, and again, all those guys did such an amazing job, and I got a call, and and we of course listened to it. Of course, you can't see him now.
Yeah.
I had never spoken to Alec in life until that day of the arraignment, and the first conversation, quote unquote, that I ever had with him was when I started to cross him. But we're all familiar with his voice, a very distinctive voice. But you still had to go and investigate and talk to people who knew him and have them listen to that video and confirm that that's him. As that started to happen, then obviously how significant that was started to really reveal itself, and we all know that was an extremely crucial piece of evidence. It's just obviously having him present at the scene of the crime with the two victims just moments before they died, and then lying about that's obviously pretty devastating evidence.
I'll be honest, when you heard all it took was Paul's birthday to open it up, did you smack yourself in the forehead? His birthday? Damn, that's mine too.
Yeah. Well, no, again, I'll give credit to law enforcement. I was not actively involved in hey, try this, but just told it, and we understand it can be, very difficult, certainly with certain iPhones, to get in there. So when they told me, hey, we can't get in, that's not the first time that's happened. We've certainly run into that, but
you thought it was going to be probably years, right? Like you thought that you're not going to get into that phone.
Yeah, I mean, I was not hopeful about that because, we've run into brick walls before, but we knew we had to keep trying. And, sometimes, it reminds me of that movie Sling Blade, where the character, is asked to figure out what's wrong with the mower, and he's like, we don't have any gas in it. So maybe that moment, try the simple things first, right?
Right.
Well, you had to think when you saw this, okay, we got this. This is the piece of evidence that we needed to potentially win this case.
Certainly that as we, after it was uncovered and then started to talk to witnesses who were confirming that it was Alec, we felt like, we had, a case that was the final piece that was putting into place. I mean, obviously you'd love all the evidence in the world, but at some point, you feel like you've reached that point where, okay, now it's go time. We need to go seek justice. Cases sometimes they get better with age, but they generally don't. So at some point, you just gotta go, and that's what we did.
The defense went after Sled a lot during the trial. So when someone says missteps, it doesn't necessarily mean they were incompetent. It could have been training. It could have been just a missed thing. No one's perfect. But was there one of the Sled issues that you felt like was a hurdle, that fair or unfair, you knew you had to take on head on?
Well, I mean, every case is like that, and particularly one that's as complex as this. The evidence is what the evidence is, and as lawyers, you can't, the facts are what they are, and so you just take what it is and move forward. And something as large as this and as complicated as this, and I know about our prosecution, we're going to do an AAR, an after action review, and figure out what we could have done better. So certainly there were things along the way, but I want to be clear, SLED did an amazing job with this. They are a great partner. As I said before, in state grand jury, we're used to working closely with them, and there was nothing I felt that was insurmountable. You just adapt to things. You're constantly reassessing evidence. You're constantly looking at the investigation, and I always say that because this is a big part of what we do in state grand jury, that investigations are organic. They're like children. They grow, and sometimes they grow up to be something different than what you conceived at the beginning. But that's okay. You go where the evidence takes you and pick the strongest evidence that you have and present it to a jury and then let them decide.
Well, I kind of think that happened during the course of the trial. You kind of see where the evidence takes you, and maybe you kind of adjust in some ways.
Yeah, well, I mean, during the course of the trial, I don't think that anything changed about our theories of the case or anything like that. The one thing that did happen is, after multiple requests to GM and being told they had no OnStar data, they call us in the middle of the trial and say that we do. Now, that didn't change anything about our theories. The FBI had done the telemetry work, and we had the cell phone data. And so all that ultimately was confirmatory of what we already had, but in much more greater detail. And it did, of course, give us the speeds and that sort of thing. So that was one thing that came up. But again, it was just a more detailed piece of what we had already developed. So it was pretty easy to seamlessly put that in, into evidence as we went forward.
Was this the longest trial that you have ever been involved with?
I'm told that this is the longest state court trial in South Carolina history. I haven't confirmed that, but people have told me that. I think actually Dick was telling me that Pee Wee Gaskins was the longest, and that was 5 weeks, and this was 6 weeks. So, it's certainly the longest trial that I've ever been involved with, and it's far exceeds what a normal criminal trial is in South Carolina, the vast majority of which are handled within a week.
Earlier, you mentioned that you've worked with cartels and things like that, and investigating them and putting them before a grand jury. So it brings us to the drug issue. And I know that there was a couple guys from Walterboro that you spoke at their hearings and talked about how, I can't remember exactly how you called it, a river or something that ran from Alec to Cousin Eddie to Walterboro, and perhaps these two guys. My question is twofold. One, how serious were you about putting Eddie Smith on the stand? And two, are you going to continue down that path even with Alex about to serve 2 consecutive life sentences?
Well, I can't comment on any pending investigation as far as, we've obviously have indicted some individuals that were involved in the checks, including Eddie himself. I will say this, though, is that we are committed to following every lead of all the multi-heads of this monster, and that's what we're going to do. So just because, Alec has been convicted of this murder doesn't mean that we're not going to aggressively pursue the white-collar cases against him, for example, or against Russell Lafitte or Corey Fleming. And we're certainly not done investigating all aspects of this case. And, could there be additional indictments or additional defendants in the future? There certainly could be, but obviously I can't comment specifically on anything pending in that regard.
One of the biggest questions that our listeners have asked us is, where is all this money? And do you think that the public is going to get answers as we progress through these financial crimes?
Well, again, those are pending. And so I will say this, we're going to, and we have looked and pursued a lot of those leads. And I think I would say that, we certainly agree that Alec had an opiate addiction, but we said in the murder trial, and I said as much in closing that there's no way that all of that money or as many pills as he claimed he was taking is survivable or realistic. So certainly, while he may try to say all that money went to pills, I certainly don't believe that. And we're going to continue to follow every lead that we have, and we're going to try to schedule these white-collar offenses, and then everybody can see where the evidence goes when we do that.
Teach a man to fish, and you'll feed him for a day. Teach a man to buy a crispy panko fish sandwich from Wendy's, and you'll introduce him to a delicious new world. Try one for yourself today, for a limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Did you tell your team's spouses that, enjoy them because we're about to get started again?
Well, I might need to tell my own first, but yeah, I mean, it's we all know that. And
right.
we talked about that before trial. Whatever the result was here, we are very committed to those offenses, because again, and I want to be clear, there are allegations at this point. He's presumed innocent, and he's entitled to a fair trial, and he'll get that. But the allegations really, go to really the heart of abuse of the system of which we're all a part, and allegations on a scale that are just unparalleled. So, and those all have their own alleged victims that deserve a voice. So, regardless of what happened in the murders, which of course Maggie and Paul were the most important thing, but there's systemic issues here as well about his alleged abuse of the system, abuse of his law license, that are very important to be addressed as well. And so, regardless of what happened in this murder, we were going to go very strong on those too. And everybody, the whole team is on board with that and well aware of it. So, on top of all the other cases we have to do, we still have a lot of work to do in this thing, and we plan to do it.
Well, I want to ask you about Judge Newman. I'm not sure who has a bigger fan club at this point, you or Judge Newman. You guys are both incredibly popular amongst the masses. Did it surprise you that Judge Newman addressed the jury after Alex Murdaugh? And he basically went as far as saying that the jury got it right.
Well, first of all, Judge Newman, I have the highest regard and respect for him. I can't imagine a more perfect judge for this particular case. You all saw how even-tempered and just well reasoned he is. To have that sort of guiding hand, was obviously crucial. And that was one thing that I think was really important about this, is that the process, I think, acquitted itself well. We've all seen celebrity trials where things really got off the rails, and and I give credit to the defense too. I mean, I'm certainly friendly with both Dick and Jim and Phil and Maggie, and everybody was very professional, and we fought hard, but we were still very professional, and Judge Newman was really the guiding hand in all of that, and obviously that was just crucial to this process, I think, acquitting itself well. But it's not uncommon after a verdict. I mean, now he's guilty, and the judge certainly at that point in time can address the jury, thank them for their service, and at that point in time, he's going to sentence the guy. So he's certainly capable at that point saying, you're guilty, you've been found guilty, and this is what you're accused of doing, and this is why I'm going to sentence you. My comments on sentencing, as you saw, were very short because Judge Newman has been sitting there for 6 weeks. He's heard it all, and I don't need to belabor the point. And I sat down, and like everybody, it was just riveted with his interaction with Alec and the comments that he made. But I thought he did a masterful job. And again, I'll give credit to the defense and of course all the prosecution team and SLED and all the agencies. I just think that it was a professional job, and I'm just happy that South Carolina, I think looked pretty good on the world stage.
That was one thing that stuck out to me. Walsboro handled this influx of national media and spotlight very well, and I was really proud of our state. Do you have any reflection on that? Well, yeah. I mean, that to me was huge. I remember first arriving on
Saturday before trial, and we went down to the courthouse to, drop some stuff off and get set up. And there was one food truck out there, and it was like an elephant ear truck like you would see at the state fair.
Yes.
And I remember saying to Judge Newman, I was like, why don't we just get go ahead and get a roller coaster and a Ferris wheel out here? And I was really, worried that might, I didn't want, because I love the state. I'm, a lifelong resident here. All of my team and our law enforcement partners are committed to, doing what we do for a reason. And I really wanted people to see, what a great state this is, what a great community it is, and how, this moment was not going to be too big for us. And I thought that the city did great. The community did great. We had so much support there. I don't want to leave out Miss Becky Hill, the clerk of court, and all her staff.
She was amazing.
She was just wonderful. And, Colleton Sheriff's Office was amazing to us. And we really, made a lot of friends down there. And I have to admit that when I was packing up that hotel room for the last time, it was a little bit nostalgic. I left that courtroom the final time, and all the people that were there every day that we got to know, and, including the judge and the jurors, it occurred to me as we were leaving that all of us are never going to be, it's very unlikely that all of us will ever be in this one room at the same time again, or any room at the same time again. So, certainly a lot of us will be together, but, everybody, all the people that we interacted, whether they were media, whether they were frequent spectators, whether they were, court staff, it really, we all kind of shared that experience. And of course, underlying that experience is a horrific crime, which was the reason for it. But at the same time, you made some friends and had this experience. Absolutely. And I'm just happy that the community and the state, I think, acquitted itself well.
I felt the same way. It was actually kind of really sad. I missed it. I made so many connections along the way. And, there were a couple things when we had this bomb threat, and how well the court staff handled that was just amazing to me. And what was your team's reaction to that?
Well, I think my first reaction was, because I remember when the deputy came up and I was like, oh, okay, something's going on here. And then they said bomb threat. And I think we all kind of was like, well, that was only a matter of time. And we left. And so I rarely ate lunch. I think I went to the food trucks like a couple times because I'm usually working during lunch. Actually, my parents were there that day. So I actually went over to the mobile command post that we had and got some barbecue or something. And because I was thinking court's over for the day. I had to get the bomb squad to respond and do a complete sweep. Mm-hmm. And we actually, so I had a nice lunch with my parents, and then we actually went back to the hotel, and then we get the call that they're clear and Judge Newman's ready to go. So we jumped in the car and headed on back and got busy again. You saw, and this is amazing, I think, too, and how focused judge and tight a ship that Judge Newman runs. But, that was maybe the biggest stress on me in this trial, was making sure that, we had one witness to go right after another, that literally they were pretty much walking up as the other one was walking down. I know that that's important to Judge Newman, and it's important to us too, particularly in a trial this long. But, to go 6 weeks of court and not have it really ever break down, only the time it really broke down was because of a bomb threat. I think that was pretty awesome. And again, every single day, making sure we had prep witnesses ready to go, making sure that they were here, making sure that, that the case was proceeding in a manner consistent with our strategy. That daily task for me was probably the biggest stress that I had.
Now, I'm going to let you go, but I don't like to criticize people behind their back, so I have to bring something up. That's
sure.
That's the PowerPoint presentation. Was that a sword, or what was that?
Yeah, wait, I have a debate, ongoing debate. Was it a sword or a pendulum? Because I might lose.
I think that I was, when I got that image, I think I was trying to find like a sword of Damocles, is I think what I was going for. So it's supposed to be a sword.
Okay, all right.
And actually that PowerPoint, I had that one I think you're talking about, I had written that one, months and months ago.
The hamster on the wheel, I think, was that on there?
The hamster on the wheel too, yeah. And I think, finalizing all of those and writing all of those, I got about 2 hours of sleep before the day of closing argument. But that one had been written a while, and I actually took out a lot of images to kind of sanitize it for the jury a little bit more. But yeah, I left in the hamster wheel and the sword.
Well, when I was sitting in the courtroom, I could not see it, and I kept looking. At first it was a weather vane. I was like, is this a sword or pendulum? I couldn't really tell. But
we had fun with it.
We did discuss it. But I did. Before we let you go, there's one other thing that I wanted to ask you about was when that really weird moment about the gun that was pointed kind of at the gallery and at the
about Dick Corpulio.
Yeah, I mean it was really strange. Did you have a reaction at the time or after the fact?
Sitting in that first chair, every decision comes to you, and even if you're not the one doing the witness. And I think that at that moment in time, somebody was talking to me about either, the next witness or what we had going on. And so I didn't actually see it when it occurred. I certainly heard about it, and certainly people didn't like the joke about tempting or something like that.
Yeah.
But that courtroom was so tight, and it's very difficult to do that. I know that, on the first day when I was pulling out those guns with either Daniel Green or Jeff Croft or whoever it was, and I was doing my best not to point it, and the last people in the world I want to point it at is the jury, of course, and then definitely don't want to point it at Judge Newman either. And I successfully managed to not point it at anybody I thought, but during the break, the court reporter was like, "Yeah, you pointed that gun right at me." I was like, sorry, man, I'm so sorry. But anyway, that courtroom, as you know, was very, very tight. And
that's true. I never thought about that. You really don't have anywhere you can go with it. That's not going to be at someone. Yeah,
that was the difficulty. I mean, I remember pulling it out of the box, and I'm sitting here actively thinking, how do I pull this out without it being in somebody's path? And,
wow.
Yeah,
it's crazy little things. So much appreciated, Creighton Waters. It's been really cool that you took some time with us, and go USC Lady Gamecocks.
Women's, don't say ladies.
Oh, ladies.
I don't know. There's a controversy about
Dawn
this.
Staley's
I'm not
a
sure.
Philly girl, so that's good. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Creighton, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
I enjoyed talking with y'all. Y'all have
Thank
a good
you.
one.
Thank you again.
Bye.
We constantly are talking about how long the trial was at 6 weeks. The OJ trial, I looked up, was 8 months. And a lot of other commentators nationally are saying, even Vinny Politiano, who do Court TV, he was saying that that's exceptionally short, he thinks, for compared to some of the murder trials and things he's done. But we move through them in here in South Carolina. The rest of our lifestyle is very slow, but apparently court goes quickly.
I don't know. I sat there and it seemed long to me.
I know, but imagine 8 months, right? So if you want to reach out to us, and we'll get to a comment, because you can do it on Murdaugh Podcast Facebook or MurdaughPodcast.com or MattHarrisPodcast@gmail.com. And Seton loves this one.
Yeah. So I think on the ratings, honestly, the 4-star reviews are probably the most accurate. So this person gave us 4 stars, and it says, "Such a strange podcast."
Just strange?
Yes. And he said, "I think the whole world could see what a piece of poop Alex Murdaugh is. However, this podcast takes an objective view of the Murdaugh murder trial. And in that respect, it is completely different perspective from seeing every other podcast and news, entertainment, TV, crime shows. I liked it."
Oh, it started rough.
Interesting podcasts, and the hosts were very well informed and thorough.
Okay.
4-star reviews. They didn't totally love us, but they thought we were
weird.
strange and maybe informed.
We are strange and informed. Weird and strange and informed. This is an email I got. And I don't know what she's referring to, because it just starts with, "If anything is weak, it is your podcast skills."
Oh, gosh.
Painful to listen to. I listened to several related podcasts, and I was recommended it from another listener. I just don't think you guys know what educated people are supposed to sound like. Sorry, but I've had enough.
Sorry,
Carolyn.
That was rough. Sorry.
We'll try to better next time.
I mean, there's nothing constructive about that, but we'll, just maybe tune out.
Sure. But people are asking, we'll follow all this as it continues. And of course, we will update you on that. Plus, working on some other possible subject matter to get to.
Yeah, we want to take the umbrella of impact of influence, and we hope that you will stick with us.
Great. All right. We're grateful as always, and we'll talk soon, friend.
Teach a man to fish, and you'll feed him for a day. Teach a man to buy a crispy panko fish sandwich from Wendy's, and you'll introduce him to a delicious new world. Try one for yourself today, for a limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's.